You know, it's a bit of Japan.
Of which we have a Japanese team.
We do indeed have a Japanese team. We've always had at least one Japanese team.
And I really appreciate, I really do like the fact that that country has always been represented here.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing Yoshimoto and Count just yet. For now, though, it is going to be teams visiting Hanamura. And I do want to have a little bit of a throwback, because I do wonder, does anyone attempt that Tracer spot again? Is there another Widow like Husky?
I know, were they watching? I feel like because of that, no Tracer is going to try that again.
Well, just go somewhere else. I mean, I'm sure you can find another position.
But then, like, what if Huss always finds them?
That would be ridiculous.
That's his thing. That's like, he's just got this, like, this sick Tracer sense, you know? At any rate, different game, different teams. Let's take a look at the one at hand. It is going to be LogitechG ABANG out on the attack first, Mega on the defense. Nothing too spicy out of either.
Straight away with the multi-tanks as well, 4 tanks and a Moira. This has been the composition that ABANG have sort of favored here. They talk about the fact that they want to run this. They talk about the fact that Oyo loves to be on the Moira. Now can they make it work finally against Mega?
Hook onto Loco, but they don't quite get the closeout. The pressure is there, though. They are slowly forcing Mega back off this point. Now it's Mega who need to find their way in to make a fight happen, but they got Narc low, and then they got Blue low enough to
really
kill him
Coalescence.
too. Yeah, Coalescence very early, but it doesn't matter if it's not actually keeping his tanks alive. He is keeping Narc off just barely, sometimes only within an inch of his life, and that, being the close on NZNR, will swing it solidly the way of ABANG as now they start to close out on the rest. That early Coalescence was so crucial, because there was a moment where it was looking dicey for ABANG.
And also for Mega as well, a couple of sort of rotational misfires here. They didn't respect the rotation coming out of ABANG from what they were trying to do for a composition that's heavily reliant on tanks and heavily reliant on positioning. As soon as these tanks get onto the cap itself, Mega find it very difficult to push into them. Now again, on this top high ground, if Logitech ABANG can just sort of sit on here, maintain positional control, Mega are going to find it very difficult to run into them.
Pulse Bomb out, doesn't quite get the kills. How many times have we seen attacks grind to a halt on this second point as well, though? ABANG, sound barrier out. They need to get some kills out here. NZNR pressured out, but not dead yet. It is indeed Shin, the first casualty of the fight. Narc going down as well, and they don't have the Coalescence to keep all these tanks topped off this time. Close to it, but not quite enough. They do get some crucial ultimates out of Mega, though, and get to charge up some of their own. So ultimately, that fight loss, not too much of an issue. I don't know what an issue is, but yeah. ABANG are fine.
The timing here is very important, because you have to note that Mega actually got their ultimates before ABANG, despite the fact that ABANG won that opening fight onto A. And part of that reasoning is due to the fact that there's a bunch of tanks on ABANG. Mega can charge up their ultimates a lot more effectively. The only ultimate that ABANG really had an advantage was Coalescence they originally used to win. Now, though, they get to come in with these big hitters. Graviton Surge, Earth Shatter. Can they get it done?
They do also have to take a bit of time getting the charge on one back up to scratch, but that's a great way to open it out and to pick on NZNR. They do, like we said, have that Coalescence. They've got the grab, they've got all the tools they need, only use them, but it's hard to use them when you're dead. Mega, they do have to use the last of their ultimates for it, but they are able to hold tight, at least for the time being. And they did actually get some ultimates like the whole Hog and Transcendence out of ABANG.
Note the adaptation from Mega as well. They're now much more adept at sort of reading where ABANG want to go. ABANG last time went up the stairs onto the left side from a defender's perspective, wanted to rush towards the spawn. Mega read that this time around Apudo. He rotates himself all the way to the back of the point. ABANG's lineup can't contest with Apudo, and he's been a key factor. Second tactical visor now. He's farming this ult against the tanks.
And I love Apudo in that position. I mean, we've seen many a play of the game where Apudo stood in that position, opening up with a tactical visor. Though generally it's on the offense. It's kind of a pleasure to see it happen the other way around. Oyo, first casualty of the fight once again. That just means they cannot keep these tanks alive. A lone Lucio cannot do that much healing. And that is kind of a linchpin of this team comp for ABANG, by the way. If Mega can keep picking out the Moira, then really ABANG can't really do much. And knowing that now, they've recognized they do have to change things up.
And this is a really painful change up for ABANG. So they had so many big ultimates that they just say goodbye to, wave goodbye to it, in fact, because Look, Graviton Surge, never got to see that one come out. Earthshatter, I'm pretty sure we didn't see that one either. Mega just read exactly what ABANG wanted to do every single time.
Yeah.
ABANG now got to change up pacing, but they're behind in terms of ultimate charge in a big, big way. They're not expected to win this next fight. They're not even expected to get a single tick on the cap. They're going to have to come back with an advantage in fight number 2.
I do respect the discipline, though, of changing off when you have ultimates. It can be very easy to go, no, I want to use this ultimate first, or no, it's a waste. So I like that they didn't fall into that trap, as it were. But like you said, yes, it does put them a long way behind. They're just going to have to lose a couple of fights to try and even up the ultimates. But killing Incident early actually gives them a good opportunity to do that. He will, but if LogitechG ABANG can put on enough pressure now, Mega will have to use ultimates to stay alive in this fight. You already see that with Loco committing to Primal Rage, but luckily for Mega, and indeed unluckily for ABANG, that is the only ultimate that they commit.
There's a big problem for ABANG right now, though, and it's the fact that they haven't decided to pull the trigger just yet. They're sort of just hanging around the outside of this cap. They're expected to lose this upcoming fight because they're so far behind in the macro game, in the ult economy game, and yet they're not so much willing to take this next fight. Now they're starting to lose members. Now they're starting to maybe draw some ultimates out of Mega if they can.
Yeah, unfortunately losing one who was quite close to his Dragon Blade. They commit a res right as Blue dies as well. That's really unfortunate. Means that Valkyrie was kind of for naught. You almost want them to have retained that if they could so help it, and they've still not actually drawn ultimates out of Mega.
That's a crucial thing, but they are also building up ultimates themselves, so at a minimum, they're going to come up to a fight where they're at least at a neutral standpoint, ult economy-wise. That's not where you want to be as the attackers. You want to be ahead. You want Mega to have already committed resources to the defense. The fact that Mega have won the last 2 fights convincingly, no resources spent, means Mega are still a force that cannot be moved right now. Do not expect the cap to go through just yet.
I mean, like I said, this is where often offenses do just completely grind to a halt, and that extra experience in playing the macro game is starting to pay off for Mega.
That's a punish.
Nice catch by one. We'll be able to take Enzen out of the picture very early in the fight, and like I said, Mega now do have to commit ultimates. They commit some big ones too. It's the Nano Visor combo, and they've actually not killed any members of ABANG just yet. It's the Transcendence out from Oyo now going to keep them all safe. Mega looking very lean on the resources and res in for one. Now LogitechG ABANG can go aggressive in their own right. Unfortunately though, the Tactical Visor shut down by Saiyajin God as he goes diving in.
One dead again.
Yeah, getting picked off bit by bit, one dead. It was ultimates used by LogitechG ABANG, but this time Mega also used a lot of their own, and finally ABANG have the advantage.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because if you're ABANG right now, that's mission accomplished. Yes, you lost a fight, but you made Mega spend resources, and they spent a lot. That was an expensive defense. After banking up for 2 fights in a row, they basically spent everything that they had. And now if you're ABANG, this is the fight you look to win. This is the fight where you have to win. 1 minute remaining, 3 full ticks to get through. No mistakes here.
They've got the Dragon Blade to do it, and we have seen one absolutely go off so far. But a Pudo is a Pudo. I don't know how else to put that. Like, if he's in the right position, if he's not getting touched, he is going to dump out damage. He is going to get another Tactical Visor, and at some point it's going to become relevant. Oh, especially if one dies that early. There isn't really enough time for ABANG to go for a full reset. Shin is looking to swoop in and try and get the res. They do pick Loco. They can get that res off. They may be in decent shape. They go for it, and they've got Saiyajin's mech too. Without the tanks, Mega not looking as good. Nano Visor combo once again, but this time there's just no targets. Nobody is in his sights. This could be it for ABANG.
15 seconds remaining. One is back into the fight. We've been waiting for a Dragon Blade for a while.
Here it
Looking
comes.
for a Pudo.
Onto the back line. Doesn't get them. The retreat into the base is enough for himself and his support Rocket. Very far forward for the res from Shin, but it works. And they've got the Tactical Visor. This is also wasting a Pudo's time, where he's not affecting the fight, but now able to get back into the fray, thanks to that Transcendence as well. They are lean on members, but they have the respawns. Not enough presence on the point here either for ABANG to actually pick up a third or anything of the like, and indeed, no sir, not today. You get nothing.
And the
0%.
second time we've seen ABANG in a position where they're kind of trapped in this composition that's a little bit awkward. I want to say it's not a scalable composition. And what I mean by that is, yes, the tanks are great at taking A, but how do you scale this into later parts of the game? Your early game is solid, fantastic. Middle game, maybe even okay. It's acceptable. But by the time you get to the late game, you're still running these tanks. You've got a Graviton and an Earthshatter that you can't use, that you haven't used, and you won't use. Now it's getting a little bit too late. You now change compositions. You're about 3 fights behind. It takes 3 fights for ABANG to even catch up on ultimate. We said about 3 minutes. This is where they need to start bleeding ults from Mega. It took them until the last minute to finally come up with ults, and even then, not enough.
You almost would have wanted to see them basically go, okay, either we snowball off this first push with our 4-tank composition, maybe we give it a second chance, but probably not. We should just swap off as quickly as we can if it doesn't work. Because you're completely right. You're always going to end up being behind. You can't really put down enough pressure to draw out those relevant ults to get yourself back ahead. And we actually saw once they were in the right kind of vein of team composition, they were able to draw those ultimates out of Mega. They were able to even up the score to the point where they went in with an advantage on the final fight. Unfortunately, they only had that one fight left at that point in time, and it wasn't a fight they won. You can almost imagine with that extra 4 minutes, hey, maybe they could have done it.
And I might be one of the biggest dive advocates out there, but ABANG said it themselves. They favor dive. They're good at dive. They just wanted to experiment. And unfortunately, the thing about triple tank, quad tank, however many tanks you want to run up to 6, you have a lot of HP to have punish. And it was very evident, very clear that ABANG, even despite winning that first push onto A, somehow Mega was ahead in ultimates, and that's because the ultimates in terms of ult charge versus HP was so much more favored. But now, it's a new round. Apudo's back on the Widowmaker. We've seen what he can do with this on Hollywood. Can he get a repeat of that performance?
We'll also have to see what ABANG can do on their defense, because as much as they didn't get that cap on point B, we did also see earlier today a full hold on point A. It's very much a possibility, but losing 1, not a great start as far as that goes. And already marching their way to the third, yeah, just barely, right? I felt the breeze in my hair.
That was, second one.
Whew. They are starting to bite back though, and luckily for Blue, he is relatively uncontested up here, provided Apudo doesn't thread the needle and get the headshot.
Yep, get
wow.
these chokers, why not? Apudo doesn't care about that, he's on the point, and you need to be the one getting on this point to contest him. We talk about LogitechG ABANG getting a pretty quick A. This is a pretty quick A. The difference now being Mega do have a scalable comp to go into B, whereas ABANG did not.
Losing Sage and God is a little unfortunate. He got demexed and just had to reset himself. It does slow down the snowball, and it does mean LogitechG ABANG crucially get the full rack of respawns. It'll be a 6-on-6, but what Mega do have that could play into their favor is the ultimates.
They only need to get 1/3 as well, and that's going to be securing them Hanamura map number 3. And they have ultimates coming up, so maybe they do want to wait just a little bit, at least get their Transcendence out of Yud. That's going to be pretty crucial. And timing-wise as well, ABANG, they're not close to anything big enough to really swing it back in their own favor, especially not...
Wow, unfortunate Blue already dead. Because they only need that 1/3, it means the pressure is on ABANG to always fight on the point. The moment Mega get on it, the pressure mounts. Now just looking to get that in. NZNR losing his life. They need to get a lot more kills than just 1. No pun intended, if they want to really get ahead in this one, but it looks like that could be the way. No, Apudo has to go into full retreat, and the Transcendence was there in perfect timing for Oyo. Yud committing his own. It's just kind of jostling about on the point, but I really don't see a world where Mega really come out on top of this anymore. They don't have any resources, and that respawn
They are getting kills, and this is the point.
The respawn advantage, though, comes in here. That's the thing. I don't think it's possible.
But they only need to get 1/3. And that's the kind of thing is you have to factor in the respawn advantage, but also the respawn advantage is not so much of an advantage when you consider that you only need 33% for this one cap. The respawn advantage is a much bigger factor when 100% of the cap is what you have to focus on, not when it's 33.
Certainly, though, the numbers just played in favor of ABANG. The fight went on long enough that they had a couple more respawns. You know, even when it's 4 versus 3, that is still more people, even when it seems that they've got the same number alive. Mega just having the longer walk back. They counted for a lot in that fight.
Contesting this high ground is going to be important for both teams. For Mega, they want to set Apudo up. For ABANG, they want to prevent Apudo from being set up. 1
straight ends. They find Rocket Knowledge to try and carve up the back line. They do lose Narc in the mix, but it's going to pay off just fine for them. Oh, Apudo. Helix Rocket out. Unfortunately, they are too lean on members to really take advantage of that, but they did at least draw some ultimates out of ABANG.
And importantly enough as well, they're also now charging their own ultimates. Getting rid of the Dragon Blade is step number 1 for Mega to be able to take this. Now they need a way to break through, kind of just even blitz on the high ground and kind of trying to take that by force if possible. ABANG need to still maintain that high ground control if they can. 2 tank ultimates about to come up. A nano boost they can use on Narc. Losing into the Narc will, however, put a stop to this push.
NZ are dying early. I mean, how often do we see that sort of thing? I don't mean that specifically, but, you know, when one member just kind of dies, especially on maps like Assault, and you just kind of end up losing time as you have to wait for the respawn and so on and so forth, and then it happens again.
The timing is incredibly significant here as well, because ABANG are the ones that want to be building up these ultimates a lot sooner.
Ooh. Apudo getting the Helix Rocket on Oyo is a pretty good start because that takes the Transcendence off the table. Narc is going to have to try and do the work with that nano boost on him. Apudo, just barely able to stay alive. Nicely handled there, and that could be the numerical advantage they need. Like you said, they only need that third. Oyo does get back on with that Transcendence that he previously died with, but they're going to need more than that. The sound barrier is there for Rocket to respond, and now Apudo dislodges he is off the high ground. It doesn't matter because it drew someone away from the point, and the point is what counts as Mega now 2-1 up in the series. After starting 0-1 down, they have turned it back around, now taking a lead and taking it to match point.
What can you say as well? It's just Apudoing on that point as he does so well. Rocks up high ground, tactical visor, everyone gets destroyed. And this here, a glimpse of how exactly ABANG kind of got that early fight win, but like we sort of previously mentioned, despite getting that win, they were still in deep waters, and that's been a difficult place that ABANG have kind of been just barely staying afloat, neck just slightly above water, and eventually it is 2-1 now in the series. We may still get to that map 5.
Maybe.
But it is Mega coming out on top, and ABANG starting to lose a bit of that buoyancy. They look like they're about to drown. Yeah,
Mega are looking better and better each time, just slightly cleaner here and there. We are seeing some really important things, in my honest opinion, out of ABANG that show what they can do. I sort of mentioned, like, it's minor details. I mentioned it in last match. You know, having the discipline to change off all their heroes that had all the ults banked up, that is actually not an easy thing to do. And it was good to see that, but unfortunately, you still need things like, you know, a slightly cleaner ult macro. You do need better execution in certain places. And those are all those things that Mega do have, like you said, from all the experience they've had playing against some really high-level teams.
Yeah, and it's, you know, that moment in the game, one of the toughest pills to swallow is to say, and not even just for one play, for multiple people to say, big ultimates that take a long time to charge. Ultimates that for ABANG as a team, they were committed to charging as well. It took them maybe 3 fights.
Yeah, hey, let me just not use this grab.
And then to just change off, that is a very, very tough pill to swallow. Yeah. It takes a lot of discipline, and you could tell even after that move how far behind they were. You could even kind of consider that if they hadn't done that, maybe they would have been even further behind. So a few sort of macro blunders coming out of ABANG, maybe the I guess, lack of experience kind of rearing its ugly head around, and for a team like Mega, as you've already mentioned, having the veterancy of players like Apudo who've been around for, you know, since the very beginning. 2016 World Cup is the first time we saw him on an international stage, and now in 2018 he's better than ever.
It's this really interesting thing that has actually been a bit of a common thread, at least across the teams that have lost so far today, is the macro compared to the teams that have beaten them has just been slightly sloppier, or maybe a little bit worse. Just not as clean, not as practiced, not as tidy. And I do feel like a lot of that comes down to experience. It's harder to say that for the very first match of the day, just because Talent aren't exactly a considerably more experienced team.
They're a rookie team, technically.
Yeah, but it was still quite a big difference between the two. So we could end up seeing, and certainly what we've seen so far would lend itself to suggest that actually will be a factor that really stratifies these teams. And that's going to be the difference between that top 4 finish or that bottom 2 finish that puts you into playoffs. That being said, still one more to go at minimum. Before this last one is rounded out, and it could well be still that ABANG actually come away the victors here. They are picking Dorado for the next map.
And then we could be heading to Oasis, which would be another control map, which ABANG have already won. So a lot could still happen here. You do want to start leaning towards Mega now, though, as the later we get into the series, it's starting to become a little bit more apparent that Mega just have what it takes to have the experience to close it out, especially on a map where Apudo again can go into the Widowmaker. He was so dominant as a Widowmaker on primarily it was Hollywood, but still, you know, even a little bit on Dorado. For LogitechG ABANG. Going to start things off from what we can tell so far anyway, before they head out of the spawn room. What's looking like dive just as we head into this pause.
I'm really curious to see LogitechG ABANG on Dorado here as well, because it's actually the first time we will see them really play a payload. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see
You're right, because we didn't
get to see it in Hollywood. I mean, we got to see them on the defensive, but we never actually got to see them playing that aggressive, that momentum-based game. I'm curious to see how they go at it, because I'll be honest, I mean, they're good at dive. They're good at those sort of quad tank, sort of death ballish comps. I see that as actually being a potential strong point for them, and that could be enough to kind of tip it over the edge.
Now, Dorado is one of those maps where you do need a lot of scalability going between A, B, and C. And the thing about this is, as well, it's somewhat lazy, but it's also consistent, and there's a reason for the consistency. But dive works the entire way. Quad tank or triple tank or any number of other, I would say, less common compositions, you do have to change as well. For example, you can start off with tank here if you like. When you get onto B, though, the streets phase, where high ground is much more of a factor, that's not going to be a composition you run again. And then onto C, you might want to bring that back. But there needs to be now, especially for ABANG, scalability in terms of how do they get through A and then onto B and then onto C.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, you know, dive in the streets, death ball in the sheets.
Well, I've never heard that, but haven't heard that before, but I've heard it now. So
yeah, and
I don't know who they is that say it. I'm guessing it's just you, but
I mean, it's one of those great things. Like, you know what they say? Oh. I was hoping he'd spot out the Tracer, but he didn't. But funny enough, the Tracer didn't spot him out. Surely NZNR has got to hear that Blue is around there, though.
This is going to be a reasonably slow compared to what we saw earlier with the Dorado being played between Chaos Theory and Talon Esports. This is a slow defense so far from Mega. They've sort of pulled themselves backwards. To Apudo's benefit, though, I guess, because he wants to be playing further back himself.
Ooh, Blue nearly taking the bullet there. Oyo does go down and get picked back up. But now the payload is kind of stopped. This is really just kind of a pitched battle between these two teams right now.
There's one pick.
Yeah, and there is no real great way for Rocket to move in for the res there. Blue's just kind of got that sightline well covered.
Very appropriate, by the way, the naming of his person or who he's playing as a hero.
Haha. At any rate, though, with Rocket going down, there's definitely no chance for a res, and with that, Loco goes down as well. And the patience here from ABANG is actually really paying off. It's funny, I wonder how they play these momentum-based games. I want to see how well they can do that. What we've seen so far is a very patient, like I said, pitched battle kind of way of going about this.
They've also been allowed to be quite patient because, as was already mentioned, Mega played their own very patient defense where they didn't want to get too aggressive on the cart too early. The cart was allowed a lot of free push earlier on against a much more aggressive defense. This would have been very much punished by ABANG's movement. So kind of both things working out. Some stars aligning here. Mega's defense, along with ABANG's attack, kind of just melding, married together perfectly for ABANG to push on through.
Just looking to find their way in for the next one. Yeah, Mega, this is absolutely the way to go. You want to get aggressive on this fight. Unfortunately, though, Yada's the first casualty of it. No good way to go in for the res. Now, one wants to cut it right open and gets Rocket out the gate. And Sayajin, God, these are the picks they are needing. Apudo as well. That's exactly how you keep momentum on your side. And once again, we actually saw a lot of patience. They knew that Mega had to go for something if they wanted to stop that cart up, and they waited for Mega to expose themselves.
Mega may need to consider changing game plans here as well, because so far what they have has not been working. They've been trying to catch ABANG out, and that has worked on previous maps like Hollywood, but right now on Dorado, it's been ABANG dictating a lot of where these fights are engaged from, a lot of where the positioning is, and Apudo is finding it more and more difficult to find accessible angles.
Like, ABANG right now just kind of feel like I'm watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, every time Mega do something, it's like, oh, you triggered my trap. You've activated my trap card. Like, oh, wow, I mean, that is a bit of a nice change of pace. Yeah, Apudo just drew Pot of Greed.
This would normally be the part where I ask you what that is, but I don't want to get into
we don't need that much of a sidetrack. There is still Overwatch happening.
Definitely gone to the extent of the runway of that joke. So for Mega, they have stabilized now. They have slowed things down a lot more for LogitechG ABANG to now find an alternative way to get into this, and for Apudo as well, and actually for Blue, both having Infrasight up at the same time. There's going to be a lot of mind games for both these Widowmakers.
Ooh, we're getting chunked, but not dead yet. The two teams that have been very aggressive, very brawly, very scrappy. This has been a very patient, quiet game, all things considered. But this time it's Blue getting the crucial headshots, gets Apudo too. That's a real pot of greed play. It's a 2-for-1. And that is going to be hopefully enough for ABANG to get things back underway. Certainly the payload, contested as it is, has advanced. And now with all these members of Mega dead, they do get more progress. Narc just getting right into the back line to clean up members with that ultimate.
It's going to be Apudo now changing up his own hero rather. Not necessarily the whole composition, but going on to the Genji. ABANG may want to consider Blue changing onto there. It is the Tracer as well. As we head into sort of the C point. Neither team wants to be running a Widowmaker. Apudo gets to be back on what I would say has been his most successful hero so far in the series.
That being said, one has been a joy on this Genji, and there he goes again. As I say that, he dies, Does get the Transcendence out, though, of Yacht, which they have to be happy enough with, but unfortunately, Dragon Blade is an ultimate you want to get more mileage out of. You don't just want to use it to bait something else out. It's going to change over onto the Sombra, though, so it seems that they were just willing to use that to get some ultimates out of the enemy team. They weren't really planning on sticking on the Genji, so all's well that ends well, I suppose.
And these are a couple of very nice, well-placed shots by Blue, as we did see. It was a lot of his pressure that allowed ABANG to get that second phase rolling through, and kind of in what is thematically the reverse of what Mega did to them on Hollywood, which mostly Apudo sniping against ABANG.
Apudo puts the boost out onto Loco, who immediately goes in. That gets the Transcendence out of Oyo, and now ABANG getting the payload back underway. Mega just going to kind of wait for it to round the bend before they look to make their stand, and they do have the ultimates to do it, but at any moment now, ABANG could just find the picks to blow it right open, especially as they start moving into that EMP. Unfortunately, losing Oyo hurts that potential quite a lot, and it looks like ABANG are just going to have to take this one on the chin and back out once again.
This is the kind of composition that ABANG are running, right, because they're waiting for the EMP to come into play. They know their power spike happens when one gets his ultimate, and now that's exactly what they do have. And for Mega as well, the stars once again become aligned for ABANG in terms of where Mega are macro-wise in this game. They don't have enough ultimates. They don't have counters to the EMP. Now ABANG just have to commit.
One's just like, just let me hack the health back. Come on, someone body block for me, for goodness sake. They do have the payload back underway though, so once again, it puts the pressure a little bit onto Mega, but Mega have the resources they need, hopefully, to stop the push up. And in fact, Logitech ABANG can have to commit some of their own just to keep the fight alive, but probably too late, really.
That's
unfortunate.
That's a really unfortunate attack for ABANG, because as was already mentioned, they needed this to be a very effective attack.
Just kind of fizzled
out.
They
had what was, what they needed on their side, but also maybe without them even realizing, Mega on their side not having appropriate ultimates to counter. Now they do. Mega are definitely well prepared to defend against anything ABANG have around.
That's the thing, ABANG still with the EMP, but it's going to have to land on a lot of members, and Mega, they are always going to be sort of relatively split up. Narc going down to the well-placed pulse bomb out of NZNR. What a stick that is. And that just means that once again, ABANG have to take it on the chin, back up, try again later. But how many times can you do that until you're out of time?
It's starting to remind me of Hanama all over again. In ABANG limbo, where they just kind of have these ultimates to play with. They're just kind of smashing their heads against a brick wall that is Mega right now, trying to get these ultimates off the floor. But Mega, they're finding ways to disrupt ABANG's attack every part of the journey. And one, still looking for this hack, still looking for the EMP. They can and maybe even should collect the kill of NZNR.
Nice follow-up. Very nicely done indeed after getting the hack on the right click. Apudo, though, trades one back instantly. And once again, that hurts ABANG. EMP out, but it doesn't get anywhere near enough work done, as the members of Mega just kind of have free reign here now. ABANG, I mean, they have to just try and regroup, but now they're just going to be piling into the payload.
One's going to jump onto the Doomfist as well. They're going to try and put all chips that they have left against Mega, who, by the way, still have quite a few ultimates remaining. Defensively, offensively, everything's looking good for them.
Yeah, it's the coalescence already from Oyo. Not getting much work done just yet, as Apudo is getting work done with the tactical visor. ABANG need to find a way in. Smilable, this has maybe got to catch a lot of members, but no, it doesn't get anyone. He doesn't even get to remech thanks to NZNR's well-placed pulse spot. And it does indeed look like it'll be Hanamura all over again. Not quite able to push it over the line right at the end. Mega do fully hold ABANG. Now it is on them to pass that 62.82 meter mark on that last point and close out the series.
Interesting sort of journey through Dorado as well when you consider that A and B were great attacks from ABANG, the kind of distance they were able to get, the timings as well. They were very patient through a lot of their gameplay. Mega couldn't find the kind of right responses. We saw greatness out of Apudo's ability to play Widowmaker on Hollywood.
Yeah.
Couldn't transfer that over onto Dorado, unfortunately. Was outsniped by Blue, and once that momentum starts for a team like ABANG, if you are the opposite Widow, especially the defensive Widow, it is so much more difficult for you to find the correct angles, for you to find accessibility in terms of sight lines. So Mega just kind of never climbed back in throughout the rest of B phase, but when they got into C, LogitechG, ABANG just kind of, they hit that brick wall again.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get past it. The barrier is so tough for them, and it looks just like Hanamura B for them.
Another thing you've got to consider as well is the last time we saw ABANG on that payload defense, it was on Hollywood. And as much as it was, you know, it was well fought, they drew it all the way to overtime. Mega did push it over the line at the end, and that's something that ABANG have, at least on Dorado, just barely failed to do. So you've got to consider now the pressure here is on for ABANG more though than it is on for Mega. This kind of feels more like it's Mega's game to lose.
Because we have seen Mega's attack before across now both Hanamura and Hollywood, and both times they were fantastic attacks. They were able to complete the map. Something ABANG have not been able to do. They could not complete the map on Hollywood. They could not complete the map on Hanamura. And right now, they did not complete the map on Dorado either. This, so far, has been their legacy for their start of the Pacific season anyway. And Mega, how will they end the first match for themselves?
Certainly they want to join the ranks of Talon and Blank, winning their first match. They can't quite secure a 4-0, but you'd be happy with a 3-1, especially as one of these returning teams. Apudo just willing to take the sniper duel, and Blue just kind of forced to back away. Apudo just waiting to find the angle.
This is going to give Mega a decent amount of space to work. The scouting on the side as well, able to relay the information back to his own team. And it's going to be a very early cart push. Both teams have basically given away this early cart push, but it is Oreo that strikes first blood.
Sage God losing the mech does mean that Mega's pressure is just reduced ever so slightly. Not as much sort of... I mean... This is going to sound really stupid, but it's that kind of aggressive defensive capability. You know, D.Va being able to get up in your face to prevent you from damaging her team. It's such a staple part of Dive.
Now this is the kind of difficult area for Mega to break through, because they don't have the kind of brute force power that some other compositions may have, especially not a Blue outsnipes Apudo. And by the way, the res is gone because it was committed onto Cyagent instead. So for Mega, they don't have any choice but to back out entirely now. We're also into this choke point where one on the Junkrat is so effective with damage, especially with the damage boost coming out from Shin as well. Right now, this is the best possible defense scenario for ABANG.
It's funny, you've also got to consider that this is what ABANG pulled on their offense against a similar thing on Mega's defense. They kind of went for this pitched battle, and ABANG won it. ABANG won it, and they capped A off the back of it. Mega going into it and saying, we think we can win it this time, and if they're wrong, they may just never get past this courtyard.
We'll have to see if Apudo can pull out some magic. We've seen him pull out magic before, but it's consistently Cyagent God coming down very early.
They have lost a few members though, namely the tanks. The respawns for them are closer, but one already looking to weave around the side, and he does have the Riptide, which it looks like he's considering committing here. Just gonna hold on to it for now though.
And double infrasight coming, one from each of the Widowmakers of both teams. One though, sitting onto that Riptide. This could be the showstopper once again that puts Mega in the dirt.
Catches Apudo. That guy had a target he wanted to prioritize. They do kill one while he's challenging it, but there's still more ultimates for ABANG to use, and they commit them handily to shut down the rest of what Mega were maybe trying to do there. And we're actually seeing Mega really struggling to get a foothold in this.
Mega are going to change up composition. The Rocket going from the Mercy onto the Lucio, and Apudo from the Widowmaker now onto the Genji. So they do want to try and brute force this one out. It will be a little bit risky. Dive technically into the Orisa Hog defense is a bit of a dangerous task to undergo, but gonna look for some flanks, and this is one way you do beat that.
They're feeling confident enough, and that could just be just chilling in the middle, experiencing tranquility. And as it happens, so far it's kind of working for them. The pulse bomb onto Narc was enough to take him out of the fight.
Oh,
follow-up damage, nice catch onto Blue. And I was about to say the follow-up damage onto Smiteable means no more tanks. A bit too deep against one, unfortunately, but it creates space for the payload. That is what counts. And Mega are not going to find themselves never getting past that courtyard. They do get the payload going. They do keep the game underway. And they do keep the hope of just closing out the series here and now alive.
That was an acceptable price to pay for Apudo, as well as trading his own life for the cap of the point. But now Mega have to try and get it past his B phase. Blue is still sniping. He still has good sight lines. One staying onto this Junkrat as well. I do expect him to change off it once the Riptire has been expended. But for Mega, well, okay, well that's one way to get past Blue.
That is phenomenal. I mean, that's just classic Apudo, isn't it? Even on Widowmaker, he'll still headshot you with a Widowmaker bullet. And unfortunately, the Riptire just into the middle of nowhere, doesn't catch anything. Apudo does go down, but Mega have a good enough number of kills that, I mean, they get the payload moving, they keep it moving. That's what really matters here, because once again, the fight is happening so far in advance of the payload. Good catch by Blue, though. The payload won't get any further than this, but it's still progress for Mega in what was otherwise a lost fight.
Important progress that actually opens up further flanks for Mega to expose. Now, this flank right here that Blue is currently holding, this is something that Mega can take advantage of, and Blue needs to be considerate of it, as it did seem like Loco was maybe looking to pressure him out with the cart position as it did.
Oh!
2 out of 2, come on!
And looking to just get straight back on them as well. Apudo does need to be careful here. He needs to give some respect to Blue as to back off to his team. But the pressure has already been laid down. Sage and God follows up on it as they drop Narc. Oyo is going to have to commit that. Doesn't! Goes down, and then Apudo can just get straight onto the back line. That may have been a bit of a misfire, because off the back of that, Mega will actually get a cap.
Apudo cleaned up double DPS with a bit of Fiora as well, and it's going to be the cap coming out from Mega. 3 minutes to get it not even to the end of C, mind you, and this is the part of the game.
Smiteable's already dead.
Bang.
Oyo again.
It's just snowball momentum, right? Mega have ultimates to come on through. LogitechG ABANG are still waiting for respawns. The only respite that ABANG have right now is that they have to, they get this opportunity to wait for Mega to put this cart through that one gate. One sort of slowdown, but other than that, Mega are rolling on through.
Yeah, I mean, that's the saving grace, right? But even then, Mega do still get ultimate charge for getting those kills. Once again, LogitechG ABANG haven't used those ults. And there you go, Mega just looking to get aggressive with them. All bets are off here. Double Transcendence, double Dragon Blade, and it's going to be one coming out the better of the two. Apudo going down. That could be all they need here, as the rest of Mega are a little bit low. Sound Barrier already used, the Transcendence used a while ago. They're trying to do their best to strike back, but one is still keeping tabs on these supports, who are just kind of stuck in a corridor with him. It's a brutal set of duels here. It's been a little bit of payload distance, but this should be the point where Mega just needs to back off a little bit.
I don't think so, because Mega right now just got a bunch of kills. One's respawning. Enzo now is going to get back here in exceeding time. Here comes a follow-up from Loco as well. Cart back under control, and only a few meters remaining for Mega.
Smiteable gets back into the mech, though, just in the nick of time, and ABANG do have a few ultimates at their disposal to stop up the momentum once again. Pulse Bomb in, doesn't quite do it. Shin commits the Valkyrie. They're having to throw ults in. That is a clutch timing for a self-destruct from Smiteable, and it does zone, the squad of Mega is what I'm trying to say. And one as well, continuing to lay down the pressure. They do rebuff Mega one last time, but it was an expensive time. Still a minute on the clock here for Mega.
Now the power spike for ABANG coming up once again. One with the Dragon Blade. Apudo very close to getting that tactical visor of his own. Loco with the Primal Rage again should be able to bat one around, and that should be a focus if you are the Winston player of Mega, as Loco is. Still 60 seconds remaining. Unclear of exactly who's going to come out on top of this one, because for ABANG, they can definitely hold it, and for Mega, they can definitely cap it.
I mean, it's one of those situations again where it's just going to come down to that one fight, and it could go either way. That's going to be the commitments from both of the DPSs. It is indeed one coming out the better of it, but he trades his life for it. So call it 1 for 1. Haha. Loco not getting too much with the Primal Rage, and that is now a chunk of extra health not going to be available in future later on in this fight. They don't have time to reset as they lose Saiyajin God and NZNR. Maybe Mega don't do it. Unfortunately, the Transcendence from Yut wasn't enough to save those two members, and ABANG, with those closer respawns, they get one back in the fight very quickly. Apudo, he has rejoined the fray himself, but they're going to have to do a lot of work. Yut dead. Oyo commits his Transcendence. 10 seconds remaining. Mega are not getting the kills. The res on Tanak. They've just not got the ultimates. It's only the sound barrier. They need to use it. They need to make something happen with it. But there's just nothing left for them, and they are not going to get back on the payload. Can you believe it? It will go the full 5. And that was as close as 2 meters from closing out the series right there and then.
So many things could have altered the final result of that fight as well. A couple of things going one way for one side and a different way for another side would have made the difference there. That final battle, actually second to last battle, 2 Dragon Blades going up against each other. One coming out on top of on top of Apudo rather. That's been kind of the theme of Dorado. Apudo has been mainly manhandling ABANG for the majority of the series, and come Dorado, Blue has shown up. I mean, and one and Blue actually.
I mean, we were saying that this was a match that did have the potential to go the full 5. Certainly after ABANG picking up the win on the very first map, it was feeling very much like it could well come to pass. And now here we are, and we have to go back to that first map because of that. It was Nepal, but crucially it was Control. Now we return to Control, and you've got to consider that this is where ABANG can start off well.
Yeah, this is where they can collect that early victory as well. And for Mega, they've had such great, they've had highs, very big highs and lows as well in this series so far. For both teams, really, that's been how close it is. It's been crazy good moments from both sides. Hanamura was definitely a Mega map. Dorado is more so an ABANG map, but still, that could have gone either way. Hollywood was definitely still a Mega map. So I want to say that when Mega have won, they've won with quite considerable leads, but when they've lost, it's been still reasonably close. Yeah, it's been close, and it's been the sort where it was always just a couple of fights from going the other way. When they have won, you can go back to that notion of a couple of fights could have made the difference, but they would have had to have made a lot more difference in those situations. So yeah, totally fair to say that when Mega have been winning, it's been in pretty convincing fashion. The losses have been very close, but here's the thing: it doesn't matter if you get 2 amazing wins and 3 close losses. You still lose the series, you still have less points, you still are worse off in the map differential overall, and it doesn't matter how many blowout wins and close losses you get if you end up in the bottom 2 of your group and don't advance. But that is what makes it disappointing, right? And I don't think Mega are going to end up in the bottom 2 just...
Certainly not.
I don't think either of these 2 teams will end up in the bottom 2.
And certainly not after this.
It doesn't feel like it, right? Because there's been some really explosive moments coming up from both sides. But we are now going to be heading into map number 5, the tiebreaker of Oasis, where it will all end, at least start with the ending, the beginning of the end, if you will, on Garden.
And I am curious, I should say, to see if we see the same kind of form out of ABANG. I mean, they did win Nepal, and as much as I did want to refer back to that, it is also fair to say, yes, it was close, and it was, it was within spitting distance a lot of the time for Mega. When they were losing, it was, 99 to 99. When they were winning, it was, 100 to 80. So it's very possible for it to just be completely the opposite. It's very possible for one of these 2 teams to get a total shutout too.
I do want to say as well, and this was kind of already mentioned when we looked at Dorado, but it's seeming like Apudo's having less and less of a dominant performance against ABANG. That's less about him and more about the fact that ABANG are starting to really step up.
Yeah, they're learning his tricks, and they're learning that they need to keep a lid on him at all times, and are doing so. Unfortunately, though, this time maybe not going to pay off so much, as Narc does drop early in the fight. It just gives Mega the space to get established on the point as it unlocks.
That has been consistent for Mega. When we look across Control, all 3 camps in Nepal, they won the opening fights.
Ooh. And then it's Blue who goes down as ABANG seek to re-engage the fight. That was the thing. They did actually lose Narc early enough that they could re-engage before the cap went over, but unfortunately not able to win that fight either.
And see how far Mega can get in terms of advantages as well. Apudo at 57 is not something to write home about just yet, especially considering that one is ahead in ultimates. Oyo going to get that coalescence very quickly.
I mean, that happens so often with Oyo, and he often puts it to good use. Unfortunately, there are other times where it's just kind of gone completely into the middle of nowhere. But this looks like it is going to be one of the former, not the latter. And combined with the Dragon Blade from one, it is plenty enough to completely destroy Mega on the point and get the cap back in their favor.
This is getting out of hand, and Mega need to respond to this quick snap. They need to find a way to counter one. They need to find a way to shut him down, much the way that Apudo has been shut down in the last map. Blue and One have done that together as a team, and now Mega as a team need to find out how to do that against ABANG. And EMP will be the beginning of it.
That is one way to do it, as the closeout is there immediately on the supports. And that is just so classic Mega. Look at the decisiveness, look at the kills just racking up left, right, and center. Smileable to be the last one to go down. They didn't even get to even up the percentage on the point. ABANG. Mega just gonna hit right back and hit way, way harder.
Yeah, this is kind of similar to Sanctum in terms of pacing, 45% to 26%. They've sort of doubled, or just about now doubled percentage objective. One EMP really secures it, really does the trick, and now Mega charged up all 5 other ults.
Unfortunately, the Pulse Bomb not catching on to anything there. I believe it may have got eaten actually by Smileable, but all bets are off as the sound barriers come out. Back in the mech now for Cyajin
God.
Cyajin God. I was thinking like Super Saiyan. It got hairy. But it's going to be Mega coming out the better of the fight. They had to use pretty much everything they had though for it. You'd certainly hope they would win given how many resources they use, but on the side of ABANG, they preserved some resources, and they do have enough time for one last fight.
Let's have a look at one with a Dragon Blade from earlier as well. Collected himself at least 4 kills, maybe even 5.
Oh boy.
And he's going to need that again because we're about to get into the final engagement now as we're heading to the 90+ range of Mega's capitalization of percentage points. And for one, he's got to be the hero.
And the coalescence is there as well. This is exactly what worked for them last time, but not so much luck this time. All they've really managed to find so far is the single mech
and a cap
of Cyajin God. Yeah, they do get the cap, which does slow things down as they close out on Cyajin God too. Not quite enough answers just yet from Mega. And it does seem that indeed Mega are just going to have to pull back and lick their wounds. They do know, though, Mega, that time is on their side here.
Because we have seen this scenario before. Mega at 99%, they need to win one fight and they can secure it. Apudo back onto the EMP as well. We saw how successful the last one was. If this is just as successful, if not more, that's going to be the map 1 win in this Oasis series.
It is fair to say, though, I mean, it was the same story with one, right? The first Dragon Blade was great. The second one, not so much. So maybe this time it won't land the same for Apudo. He throws it in, does commit. They do get 1. They need to get 2 more if they can help it. They get Oyo. There we are. Now, looking to close out on these tanks as well. Smileable can commit the self-destruct, as can Narc commit his Primal Rage. But the kills still coming through the way of Mega for the most part, despite losing the Zenyatta. And they have the ultimates, they have the deeper pockets, they can commit the sound barrier. There it goes out now, catches the few members, keeps Rocket alive as well, crucially, keeps the healers back in the fight. Smileable out of the mech, now looking to take him out of the picture altogether. They just need to get a few more.
Oh,
there's the
no,
double with the Pulse Bomb. They've got them all now, and it is going to be the cap over.
And it's going to be Internet shutting the lid on ABANG as well for this first map. You'd think anyway, just as the final few members kind of fly on in. Shin with that kind of very desperate sound barrier, only catching 2 members. Internet now slapping a Pulse Bomb on both the other members of ABANG. That's going to be it for at least Gardens, and this is a great start for Mega and a very poor one for ABANG. But we have also seen the case back on the poll where it was 1 point in one team's favor and then another point in the other team's favor. Will we go to the full distance 3 maps of Oasis?
And then you go 99 to 99. And by the way, I mean, not to disagree with you, you know, like you say, you know, not ideal there for ABANG, but it's 100 to 82. It's still close. I mean, what is unfortunate is that the last fight was very much a landslide in favor of Mega, but certainly that was within spitting distance for ABANG, and we could well see that again.
And this is about the time of the match as well, where we are in the final, I guess the final part of it, and you sort of mentioned this yourself, but almost like nothing else matters right now. Anything that has happened in the last 4 maps is currently irrelevant. It's whoever wins this will get it.
Yeah, this is no longer game 5 in a best of 5. This is a best of 1. And Mega are 1-0 up. That's all that matters here.
So far anyway, as the point is about to unlock. Importantly though, LogitechG ABANG did get the health back underneath the point in terms of Sombra player. Pura has been denied from that at least.
They're having a bit of a hard time breaking out onto the point itself, and actually in that time, Mega are able to get the cap. That's a little unfortunate for ABANG. Even as they're starting to get the kills through, actually that may well be enough. They only lose a couple of percentage with Mega getting that early cap, but they are looking to get that cap straight back off them. Just a few more kills to close it out, and there will be the last one onto NZNR. Actually, it's Rocket who's the last one to go down, but it is the cap.
And you'd swear this was before the Sombra rework as well.
Yeah.
One already getting an EMP right after that first fight. It's like his health pack still give him ult charge. It doesn't, but he's got it anyway. Abudo a little bit further behind. No ultimates on the side of Mega. And LogitechG ABANG now in pole position to snowball this advantage.
One just looking for the angle. He's right in the back line, commits it, gets heaps, gets Yut straight away. And the close in on NZNR, they've got plenty of gas in the tanks, pick off all the supports. And that's just a clean sweep. That is exactly the kind of hold you want, where you only use the one ultimate of all the ones you had available.
Yeah, but it is also ABANG now kind of smacking that tennis ball onto the other side of the court. Mega will receive it, and Apudo himself with the EMP. It's his turn. It's Mega's turn to see what they can do with this.
And that's the thing, all those other ultimates that ABANG do have banked up may just mean nothing if Apudo gets a good EMP. He gets a decent angle, but the closeout isn't there. And
Shin did counter.
Shin, yeah, did counter it, didn't get caught by it, was able to commit the sound barrier. Shadow doesn't get too much, and Mega do start getting some kills on the board for themselves. It's looking like they could well just come out the better of this one. Graviton not quite available, and for what the ultimates that were committed out of ABANG, unfortunately, it's not looking like it's going to be enough to secure this fight this time around. And what's even more unfortunate is they used most of the resources they had, whereas Mega, on the other hand, used next to nothing.
This is kind of the opposite of what we saw in Gardens so far. This is 24% to 65%, a little bit of a bigger gap than what we were used to on Gardens. The difference, though, is ABANG do come back with a few things that they have been saving up here, one of which primarily is the Graviton Surge. This could be a huge play and a huge difference maker.
There it is. They got a couple. They got the double from that, and that could be all they need. In fact, I would be shocked if it's not all they need. They are going to get the rest off the back of it as well. And this is very clean fights out of both teams, committing one crucial resource, getting all the follow-up they need. And it's making this really back and forth thing here, where whichever team is getting the bigger ultimate at the right time is just kind of steamrolling the fight.
Like I said, it's a tennis match right now. Both teams are kind of smacking the tennis ball across the other side of the court. And once one team has it, they have the advantage right now. And it is ABANG with more ultimates, with crucially the EMP as well, and with the advantage in terms of percentage cap.
Oh, that EMP doesn't matter if you're dead. Apudo gets the better of his counterpart, and now soon to be getting to his own EMP, and it may be the one fight that doesn't go the way of who has the bigger, better ultimate. It's going to be the one that goes the way of who gets the kills early and quick before you can use the ultimates, and LogitechG ABANG unfortunately not getting enough out of that one. Mega now with the point back in their favor and ultimates to boot.
And to sort of continue the metaphor a little bit, this is Mega kind of cheating in a way, because Apudo smacked the ball on the other side, then ran over the other side of the court, and then just grabbed and ran back again. So
Hit
a little bit different. It's a little bit different, but now both teams have an EMP. One came down and the other one did as well.
Yeah, it's Yut actually that's the first casualty. Mega need to get a bit more in the way of kills to make that EMP really matter, but Loco is at least able to get aggressive on the backline with that Primal Rage, throws the enemy into disarray and gets kills to boot. Now, Mega and indeed both teams within one fight of victory. In Mega's case, it would be the whole series.
This is ridiculously close as well. Shin now about to approach that sound barrier. Both teams have defensive ults to play with, not so much offensive ults just yet, but 90% is a lot of progress for Mega. 99% though, even more for ABANG, but they need to cap it through.
Shin very early on the sound barrier prompts Rocket to match. Saijin God has to throw out the self-destruct to preserve the mech. He at least does so. It's Narc, the first casualty, traded back. This is so tough. Oh, yeah, losing the coalescence is huge. And it is still Mega in control of the point and in control of the fight. Where are the people from ABANG on the point? There's none because they're all dead. And Mega, that is looking like it'll be it at long last, the closeout. The returning team, it was easily the hardest of the day so far. The full 5, nearly going the full distance on Oasis 2, but unlike Nepal that did go the way of ABANG, this time in the tiebreaker, in the decider, control goes the way of Mega.
Now this is an exciting series indeed, and look at this again. This, easily the play of the game, one of the most ridiculous series of kills coming out from either side in this 5-map series as well.
I'm reminded of Ambition at the very start of the day where suddenly he just pulled out Genji and it was like, oh, looks like he's extremely good at this hero. I mean, we have to say, One and Blue, both in their different areas, were really matching Apudo at certain times. Sometimes on the Widowmaker, here in One's case on the Genji, but ultimately, look, it goes the way of Mega. And as much as I was saying a moment ago, it doesn't matter if you get 2 blowout wins and 3 close losses. Well, hey, it does matter if you get 2 blowout wins and 1 close win, because that's all it needs to win a series.
And day 1, we've already seen a series go to map number 5. Look, I've seen a few contenders already in different regions, and there's been a lot of 4-0s. We've had 2 4-0s, but we have now had a very close match as well, and I'm glad we saved the best for last.
Yeah.
This has been a match indeed, and I think both teams, like Pudo, just going to give a little bit of a little smile to the camera, so he knows what he's done. He knows that he's earned it, and for Mega, look, they have earned it, but it was hard fought, it was difficult.
Absolutely, yeah, and it says some, I suppose, promising things in a way. Like, this is more in the general sense of the kind of season that we may be in for here. We have seen some much bigger wins earlier on in the day, but even then, both of those 4-0s don't quite tell the full story of the series, and this has kind of been more the fruition of the closeness that we've experienced so far throughout the day, and that is only the first day of competition. You consider there are a bunch of teams we haven't even seen yet. We've only seen half of the teams so far, and then there's still a whole bunch more matches to play. I feel like we are going to have a close series, a close season, no matter what. And as we start to round out towards really seeing who those top 4 in each group are, I think it's going to be competitive right the way up to the end, at least for those 3rd and 4th place spots.
Yeah, exactly. And there's still 6 teams yet that we have not seen, including potential favorites, not just in their own groups, but for the entire region and the season itself. So a lot to look forward to. Still, we've had a lot of action so far already, a lot to sort of to take in and say, look, this has been a very eye-opening day 1 in terms of just getting a glimpse of what there's to look forward to, because there was so much new things coming into this in terms of new teams and also returning teams with new players.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, is as much as this is, you know, one of the quite storied regions in terms of professional Overwatch, particularly